This is Auditory Anthology, a podcast featuring the best sci-fi short fiction. I'm your curator, Keith Conrad. We release new stories every Tuesday and Thursday. If you like what you hear, I hope you'll take the time to rate and review our show on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to recommend it to a friend. That'll help us grow the podcast and continue to share these stories with you every week. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You'll also get every episode completely commercial-free, and you can vote on which story we'll feature in upcoming episodes. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. This week's story is 80s World by Mitchell Hall and Andrew De Zilva. We meet two young women on a pilgrimage to the altar of the 1980s. Seeking the safety of a curated past and the neon glow of a decade they only know through movie marathons and thrift store finds. They've come to 80s World, a sprawling sanctuary of pop culture worship filled with new Coke and leg warmers. But time is a fickle thing. When you build a park out of memory, you can't choose which ghosts come to stay. Beyond the malls and hair metal lies a darker history, one of iron curtains, tear gas, and a Cold War that is about to turn very, very hot.
Marjana admired herself in the mirror. She was decked out head to toe in 80s gear she'd curated from online shopping. Denim jacket over Motley Crue t-shirt, white bubble skirt, costume jewelry, and snakeskin cowboy boots. She swirled, pivoted, and made sure she had every angle covered. Pleased with herself, she teased at her permed hair. She checked the time on her Galaxy phone. 5 minutes to go, and Roxanne would be picking her up for their long-anticipated trip. Marjana's migrant parents were strict on what she can and can't do. She even had her cousin chaperone her for her end-of-year school trip. Roxanne was her truest friend and who she had the most in common with. That's why it was their pact to go to 80s World together. Sure, their parents knew where they were going. What point was there in not telling them since they had GPS trackers on their phones? Besides, they planned on a good time, not a wild one. It was going to be just her and Roxanne, no boys allowed. 2 minutes to go. Marjana thought back to 3 nights ago when she and Roxanne binged an 80s movie marathon. The selection was The Karate Kid, Pretty in Pink, and The Secret of My Success. She was primed for today. Marjana heard 2 honks. She double-checked the mirror to make sure her hair was perfectly coiffed. She yelled goodbye to her parents and ducked out the door before they could give her a lecture about being back on time. The birds were singing, the sun was shining, and the garden was manicured. Roxanne waved from the driver's seat of her Polo. Marjana opened the passenger door. They hugged each other. Roxanne took in Marjana's deluxe 80s outfit. "Wow!" said Roxanne. "Thank you, Roxanne." "Oh, you don't have to thank me," shrugged Roxanne. Now Marjana examined Roxanne. She had on heavy blue eyeliner and a Ramones shirt. "We're too cool for school." As she reversed out of the driveway, Roxanne pressed play on her phone, which sat in a cradle on the dash. The Bangles' "Our Lips Are Sealed" played over the car speakers. Both girls sang along, they laughed, and kept on laughing. Google Maps guided them to their destination, a theme park that promised to bring back their favorite decade, while Spotify guided them through the soundtrack of the era. "I don't have a clue what I'm doing next year," said Roxanne wistfully, when there was only open road ahead. Marjana knew she was studying medicine next year. She just didn't like to advertise it or put it in people's faces. What's the point of a plan? They're only meant to be broken. The yellow Volkswagen pulled into the vast yet full car park. As Marjana put on sunscreen, Roxanne put on her lip balm. Puck. The girls cleared the line, then posed for a selfie in front of the iconic 80s World sign. A cast member in pastel-striped uniform interrupted them. "If you want to be authentic, use this." Lucas gave them a disposable Polaroid camera. "Do you know how it works?" The girls didn't have a clue, so he took their picture, then shook the blank tile until they magically appeared on it. "Oh, neat! Insta before Insta!" Roxanne replied brightly. "It's just $30. Now you could use our app to get around, but for the real experience, try this." Lucas handed them a fold-out map. "Neat, thanks." Roxanne unfurled it. "I'm bad with maps. Here, you have a try." Parjana tried to make sense of the map. She rotated it twice before settling on her preferred view. Lots to see and do. "Mall over here." "Yes!" An indoor fountain welcomed them. Then they passed neon shop signs and brass and marble fixtures on their way into a suburban supermarket. Even the uniforms and checkout girls chewing gum felt convincing, or at least fit their imaginations of the time. "Look, new Coke!" Stacks of cartons were piled high on the store floor. Roxanne held a can in her hand. Parjana said, "The 80s Cola Wars. This fight ultimately got Michael Jackson on meds." "How was that?" Roxanne asked skeptically. Parjana explained, "Michael was in a Pepsi ad when some stage pyrotechnics went off and set fire to his hair." Roxanne's jaw dropped. "OMG, he was so tragic." The girls went up and down the aisles. "Cabbage Patch dolls, I love these!" Parjana picked up a doll in the boxed packaging and hugged it. The in-store alarm went off. 50 moms charged the stack of Cabbage Patch dolls. They were in survival mode, and they were on the attack. A woman grabbed the Cabbage Patch doll off Parjana. Parjana grabbed it back off her. Roxanne shoved the woman. Another woman shoved Roxanne into the patch of Cabbage Patch dolls, which cushioned her fall to the ground. Like seagulls after that lone ship at the beach, the women brawled over the dolls spread across the lino floor, grabbing whatever they could and running for it to the gum-chewing checkout girls. Parjana gave her hand to Roxanne. Roxanne grabbed it, and Parjana gave her a lift up. "Just like the 80s, huh?" said Roxanne. "Tell me about it," said Parjana. Parjana wiped the dust off Roxanne's back. "Let's go get some lunch." The food court went on and on. They ate chips on a stick as they explored the galleries. It was a treasure trove of food, costumes, and anything and everything that made the 80s feel like the 80s. Robots of famous 80s celebrities filled the back section of the court. Princess Diana, Sylvester Stallone, Paul Hogan, Max Headroom, Mike Tyson, and many more, all seemingly in their primes. "I know this one," said Parjana. "President Ronald Reagan." "If you're so smart, who's this boomer with the birthmark on his head?" "I don't know, the vice president? Oh, wait, it says Mikhail Gorbachev?" Roxanne had already moved on. She swooned, "Michael J. Fox! If I could have 10 minutes alone with him!" Parjana punched her friend in the arm. "You wouldn't!" The girls wandered back out into the daylight and posed by a high concrete wall with colorful graffiti. Roxanne passed judgment. "This crap is, like, so childish." They pointed the Polaroid camera at themselves. "How do you aim this thing?" asked Roxanne. "Angle it lower. Don't get the barbed wire in shot." They shimmied as they shook their picture into revealing itself. Parjana thought of something. "We should take another one so we can both have copies." Parjana took the map out again. "Where now?" "That's Eastern Europe, just there." Not so interested," Roxanne replied. She hovered her finger in circles over the map, then jabbed at a spot. "How about Central America land?" The girls walked a long, circuitous route, then passed through a high wooden gate. The landscape was jungle. Bird sounds played over the PA system, and corrugated iron huts made up a village. Villagers were digging a long trench in the reddish soil. What are they making over there? Soldiers stood behind them, pointing guns to their backs. Gunfire rang out. The villagers collapsed into their freshly dug graves. Parjana reached for Roxanne. She got hold of her striped black and white blouse and guided her out the gate and onto the next exhibit. "I did not come here to see that." "Remember, that was just a show." The banner of the exhibit said South Africa. "Let's see in here." Blue police vans were lined up along the sides of a shanty town. African men and women sang and danced down the street in unison, telepathically knowing each other's cause and rhythm. They raised handmade signs that said, "Freedom, now!" German shepherds started to bark. Their handlers strained to keep them back on their leashes. Tear gas was fired into the crowd. Masked officers ran into the crowd with hard black clubs which they swiped back and forth. People were running everywhere, scattering away. Parjana grabbed Roxanne and they hightailed out. The sun was setting. "Oh my God! Where's some fun, 80s?" Roxanne studied the map. She slammed her finger onto it. "You had fun? You got it!" The girls strutted onto the Sunset Strip. The replica was modeled on the way the real strip was in the glory days of hair metal. Black leather and hairspray dominated the look of the nighttime tribe. The crowd of hard rock music enthusiasts was shoulder to shoulder along the footpath. "This is more like it." The girls walked inside a club called the Roxy. Parjana nudged her friend. "This place was made for you!" Parjana couldn't tell which patron was male or female. Imagining it was 1984, the house band was Motley Crue, and they were playing the songs that would end up on their Shout at the Devil album. Roxanne moved towards the bar. Smoke shot out of the stage at opposite ends. The bass player lit his shiny black leather pants on fire. Parjana looked on in awe at the band's energy, even though the music was too aggressive for her taste. A goon looking for trouble in the front row spit on the bleached blonde Vince Neil, the lead singer. He leaps into the crowd looking for retaliation. The fight is on. The bass player joins the fray. He pulls back his blood-stained bass and clubs the patron in his shoulder, who drops in pain. Punches stop. The tension eases, and the band picks up their set as if uninterrupted. "Was there any place in the 80s that was safe?" said Parjana. Roxanne flipped up her pink sunglasses. "I guess not." They squeezed through the heaving pit to the booths at the back. Roxanne sprawled the map over a booze-stained table. "Time for us to leave Hollywood." Although he was the park's least popular figure, Mikhail Gorbachev had the most number of robots, as people were always throwing food at them, which gunked up their parts. There were 12 in total, on high rotation in the park. When not on display, they rested here in the warehouse. Number 1 Mikhail's lights came on by itself. Its eyes glowed red, eerily illuminating the shelves around it. It walked to the other Mikhails and made some adjustments to their circuits. "Comrades, follow me. We're leaving." The girls licked at their Dole Whips. The desserts were both calming and a hit of sugar. "Where do you want to go now? I'm starting to feel tired, and I've got my cousins coming over tomorrow," said Parjana. Roxanne turned the map over. "I think we'll give Eastern Europe a miss. Florida, maybe? I wouldn't mind doing the Rubik Cube Challenge. Hands Across America sounds like a nice way to end the day. Oh, wow! They have a recreation of Live Aid! Wait. Hands Across America," said Roxanne finally. People held each other's hands, their arms raised up high in a long, uninterrupted chain. They swayed and sang joyously. "Hands across this land I love, divided we fall, united we stand. Hands across America." Then suddenly, harmony turned to screaming. 4 Mikhail robots were walking down the street, pushing over tables and throwing chairs through windows. "It's the Communists!" yelled Parjana. 2 pension-age security guards approached the robots. They held out their arms in a stop-in-the-name-of-the-law motion. When the robots did not relent, they raised their tasers. Number 8 Mikhail simply ripped them out of their hands. Then he took hold of the guards and simultaneously threw them through the gift shop window. Number 8 Mikhail turned its red eyes to Roxanne and Parjana. Roxanne grabbed her new Coke and threw it at Mikhail. The robot simply caught it mid-air and crushed the can. Soda sprayed onto its face, but it remained emotionless. The girls ran for cover into the gift shop through the broken windows. Roxanne went straight to a bucket of Rubik Cubes. The girls threw them at the attacking former Soviet president with no effect, and now 5 more Mikhails bore down on them. The riot police from South Africa land skid to a halt in their blue police vans. A burly Afrikaans police officer perched on top takes charge of the powerful water cannon and fires a blast of water at the Mikhails. The Mikhails work together to overturn his vehicle. Canisters of tear gas hit the ground, smoking out the entire laneway. The riot police let go of their German shepherds, but the attack dogs don't know how to react to the machine men except to bark and snarl. The girls covered their faces with bandanas. They coughed their way out of the store. They could only half see where they were going. They ran along the length of a bare concrete wall, using outstretched hands to feel their way. They could hear but not see the McHales gaining on them. The girls finally emerged from the smoke, but still, all in front of them was the wall. "We can't climb the wall! There's barbed wire at the top!" Parjana shouted in panic. She was crying, part from emotion and part from the gas. "The map! Where are we? There has to be a way out!" Roxanne spread the map up against the wall. She wiped away tears. "We're in East Berlin." Between coughing fits, she read out the guide's text. "The Berlin Wall separated the city for 28 years. It was graffitied only on the western side. The citizens did not gain freedom until the wall came down in the 90s. "The 90s?" Parjana repeated, her lips trembling. "It's too late for us!" Dozens of glowing red eyes emerged from the smoke. But from the opposite direction, there was another glowing red eye. It pulsed from side to side, and it was lower, at around bumper height. It was a black Trans Am, which could only be KITT, the intelligent car from the action TV series Knight Rider. "Jump in my car, I want to take you home," blared from its stereo system. The driver's side window wound down. Inside was David Hasselhoff, or to be precise, his robot. "Get in!" The girls piled in, and KITT peeled off. "Mind if I change the channel?" Hoff asked. The girls said, "Play whatever you like." "I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long. I've been looking for freedom. Still the search goes on."
Auditory Anthology is curated and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at WeirdDarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. This week's story was 80s World by Mitchell Hall and Andrew DeSilva. It's an original story we're sharing for the first time here in Auditory Anthology. Coming up on Tuesday, we'll have our spooky sci-fi series Tales from the Blue Line. The next story in our classic sci-fi series on Thursday will be The Most Sentimental Man by Evelyn E. Smith. While the rest of humanity flees a weary Earth for the promise of the stars, one man chooses to stay behind, trading the civilized future for the quiet reclamation of a world he finally has all to himself. It's kind of a cross between the movie Oblivion and the Twilight Zone episode Time Enough at Last.